Well, folks, I might have made a little mistake here. Okay, so a few hours ago, I did a video called "Ttcf stocks about to go insane." Basically, talking about how it's going to be a wild time in Ttcf stock price for the next few days. Essentially, with obviously the earnings coming and kind of going into that. But in that video, essentially, we looked at the numbers, and I gave my opinion on this December quarter. Essentially, I said, yeah, I think they'll probably come, in line with those numbers somewhere right around there, okay? But then I started to do a little deeper digging. And so basically when it comes to a stock like TDCF, I'm usually not too caught up in the short-term numbers around like a quarterly, revenue number, something like that. I'm trying to make sure companies are on pace for yearly numbers. And so, I don't usually get that far into things, okay? But then I was looking at that and I was like, 51. It seems a little strange there. And I was thinking about it and I was like, is it possible they could actually smash that number? Okay. And so I was thinking about that, and that's where I kind of get into this thought process. I'm like, wait, are they really going to come in line, or are they going to come in and smash this number? Okay. And so we're only a few hours from TDCF numbers being reported. So I thought this was interesting. The first part is, their last quarter, they did $58.8 million of revenue, right? Now, in that third quarter, there was a quarter in which I think their club business was pretty decent. The private label business was not very good in that particular quarter. But the more I was thinking about it, I was like, 58.8 mil, 51 mil, it kind of gets hard for me to expect that big of a decrease, if decrease at all, in a sequential quarter. Now, obviously, year-over-year numbers are going to be up massive no matter what, right? But on a sequential basis, I was thinking about this. And I was thinking, well, obviously it was a holiday time, Thanksgiving, Christmas, things like that. Maybe people weren't eating as much plant-based foods. And so maybe that's why the numbers could be troubling there. But I was like, I don't know, because I know they got increased distribution in the fourth quarter. I know they got into new stores. I know they're going to record a good amount of new revenue in new SKUs that were in stores. And so I'm thinking about that, and I'm like, man, I don't know. That gets a little hard to think of, okay? But the next part I think is even more impactful for this quarter. And check this out, okay? So basically, December 22nd, 2021, Tattooed Chef completed the acquisition of Belmont Confections, okay? Obviously, Tattooed Chef, a leader in plant-based foods, today announced December 21st, 2021, it completed the acquisition of Belmont Confections, a private label co-manufacturer of snack bars, for approximately $18 million of cash and stock. Belmont specializes in the development and manufacturing of a variety of snack bars. A 47,000 square foot facility in Ohio expands Tattooed Chef's manufacturing capabilities. But the thing to understand about this is a private label business, okay? Now, what Tattooed Chef is going to obviously go to with this, facility over time is making their own branded products, right? And we've already seen those teased out there last week at the new food convention, essentially, right? The new food expo. But at the end of the day, this company's doing revenue today. Like they got money coming in right now. Revenue. And so this deal closed in the quarter. So I'm kind of looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, how much of this money is going to be recorded in this quarter? Are we talking like a few $100,000? Are we talking about $1 million? Are we talking about, more than $1 million? Are we talking about a few million? Because that alone could boost numbers up potentially. I just don't know how much of that revenue is going to be included in this past quarter here, since the deal went through during a quarter. And that's where things get a little confusing here. And also, I don't know the very specific number on how much this business would even do in their fourth quarter. I don't know. No one really knows that. It could be, $500,000. It could be, $3 million. That's a huge question about like how much they do in a fourth quarter, for instance, right? So I was thinking about that and I was like, okay, that's really interesting. There's no doubt this will have helped numbers this past quarter. It's just a question of like, are we talking about like hundreds of thousands, or are we talking about like high hundreds of thousands, or are we talking about like millions, right? So that's first part there. Next part up here, I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in May, they basically completed their acquisition of New Mexico Food Company and the Karsten Tortilla Factory as well. Okay, Tattooed Chef, a leader in plant-based products, completed the acquisition of New Mexico Foods and the Karsten Tortilla Factory LLC, which is called the Foods of New Mexico, for approximately $37 million in cash. $37 million in cash. Okay, Foods of New Mexico produces ready-to-eat Mexican food items for both retail and food service. This acquisition diversifies Tattoo's chef manufacturing capabilities, expands production capacity, and accelerates the company expansion outside of frozen food into ambient products. Foods of New Mexico facility in Albuquerque currently produces Mexican foods, including quesadillas, burritos, and other handheld items, as well as sauces. The second facility in Carson is brand new and will enable the company to have an extensive tortilla manufacturing capabilities, as well as be able to customize their existing footprint, right? And so the idea with this is, I just got some from the Fries here tonight. I got some of their new burrito products that they don't even have like the labels ready for them. But, sometimes at some of these Kroger stores, they're kind of making the mistake of putting the product out already. And I got lucky at this Fries, they already had that product. And so that's beautiful that over time they're going to build out these Tattooed Chef branded products. But these are businesses that are doing revenue right now. And those are going to be obviously, 3 months of business. And the question is, how much revenue is going to be recorded from these businesses here? The Tortilla Factory and the New Mexico Foods Company. Are we talking about, once again, are we talking about $500,000? Are we talking about like $2 million? Are we talking about like $4 million of revenue? At the end of the day, we know this is going to help out revenue. It's just a question of like, how much does it help out revenue in this most recent quarter? And so I was thinking about that as well, right? And so I'm like, dang, man, when I start to think about these numbers, I think there's a real possibility they could actually handily beat this revenue number, which is the most important metric, obviously, for Tattoo Chef by a mile right now. Margins and obviously profitability and those things. Those, that's just not where this business is at. If anybody's judging this company off of that right now in the short term, you're in the wrong stock. This isn't the stock for you, right? Those things are going to be much more important for Tattoo Chef down the road, improving their margins, improving their profitability, getting their profitability and ramping that profitability over the coming years, right? But for right now, this is a revenue growth story. And so that's what matters the most when it comes to these earnings. And I'm like, man, I don't know. It's a possibility that they could actually smash these estimates. When I think about the SKU expansion, the store expansion, and then these private label deals they've done recently, I'm like, maybe, just maybe, they actually come in and, pretty handily beat that. But even more importantly is if they guide, they might not guide for the whole year 2022, but if they do guidance for this upcoming quarter, which I think is a pretty high probability, I would call this about a 75% probability they do guidance for 2022. I would call it about a 50-50 if they do guidance for the full year 2022 on this earnings call. But I would call this about a 75% chance they give some sort of guidance for the March quarter. Now, for the March quarter, they have growth at 28%. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, thinking about velocities on how well the product's moving. I was thinking about all the store expansion they have, plus more store expansion in this quarter. And in this past quarter, that's really going to start to hit in this quarter. I was thinking about the SKU expansion they're getting into stores like Target, for instance, right? If you go back to Q1 of 2021, they maybe had 4 or 6 SKUs, something like that, in Target stores, versus now this company's going to, in this Q1, in a lot of these Target stores, 20 plus SKUs. So the SKU expansion is massive. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about all these, retailers are getting into in a much bigger way. I was thinking about the new products they have, plus those private label deals that have gone through that will be, in there fully now. And I was like, dang, man. For instance, this quarter is going to have that Karsten facility, right? The tortilla facility, the New Mexico Foods business in there. It's going to have the Belmont deal in there, plus all the new products, the new SKUs, the new stores. And I was thinking about that, and I'm like, could they guide for like a 75 to 80 type number? I think it's a possibility when you add up all those things. I don't think it's like crazy to imagine them guiding for something like a 75 to 80 mil type number for next quarter if they do guide. And so I'm looking at all this and I'm like, I might not be nearly as bullish enough around these numbers here. And I thought that was just interesting. I was like, man, I got to share this with the folks because, it's very possible that they could actually come in with pretty nice beats on both of those, okay? Now, the next part to understand about this is the game that's going to be played. So the next 2 days when it comes to Tattooed Chef stock are very important days for the short seller side, okay? Now, shorts, in terms of Tattooed Chef, it's one of the most shorted stocks in the stock market, okay? So this is the game. This is one of the most shorted stocks in the entire stock market, talking about top 25 most shorted stock. And so there's a game that's being played, and it's going to be played on a high level over the next 2 days, essentially, earnings day and the day after earnings day, okay? Very, very important days for the short sellers. And the reason being is from the long side, right? The core longs like myself, like we're not selling out of that stock, regardless if it goes up, down, all around. Like we don't care. We're not cashing, right? But there's that kind of that little side folks that might be in the stock that the shorts are gonna try to get out of, right? And the last thing they want to let this stock have happen essentially is for the stock price to get any sort of momentum behind it. They do not want that. I can tell you, if this stock gets any sort of momentum in this bad of a market, they're setting themselves up for some real pain once the whole market actually flips, right? And once the Russell starts coming back, whenever that is, that's a debate, right? A week from now, a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now. That's a whole debate when the Russell starts really, ramping back up, right? And the NASDAQ as well. But I can tell you, if this stock starts to get momentum behind it, in a scenario like this, and could maybe get a little squeeze action, not even a big squeeze, just a little squeeze action in this sort of market, that would be pretty devastating on the short side, right? Because the longs, we don't care. Like regardless, I'm buying this stock in 2022, right? I already have a big position in it, but if it's at 13, I'm buying it. If it's at 11, I'm buying it. If it's at 9, I'm buying it. If it's at 7, I'm buying it. If it's at 15, I'm buying it. It doesn't matter. Like for me, anything under 20, I'm buying for Ttcf, right? And so that's a kind of an issue that you got, folks like myself that are just going to accumulate shares and build our ownership position bigger and bigger, take those shares off the market, and then those shares aren't being traded out there, right? Now, as a company keeps ramping revenue, that's going to keep attracting more and more investors, people that maybe were in the stock in the past that are maybe on the sideline now, and they're looking and they're like, let me see what happens here, right? Also, as they get closer and closer to profitability, as 22 transpires, that's going to attract a whole other group of folks that are like, oh, baby, this might start flipping some profitable quarters in 23. Let me get in now before they actually start making profitable quarters, right? And then you add on top of that, analysts. There's going to obviously be a ton of analysts that come on the stock over the course of this year, in my opinion, where by the end of the year, there's probably going to be anywhere from 5 to 10 analysts covering the stock, 5 on the low end, 10 on the high end by the end of 2022. And so this is going to be an interesting kind of moment for the stock where you got to understand the short seller is going to do everything to try to get no momentum in that stock tomorrow. They're going to try to, just point out anything bad in relation to the earnings. And the way the short sellers will talk is if the stock price is going up, what they're going to say, oh, it's just going to come back down. It's just a short squeeze or it's just a one-day thing or something like that, right? And if the stock price goes down, then obviously they're going to be celebrating and rubbing that obviously in the longs face and telling everybody, hey, get out of the stock. It's such a bad stock. It's going to $1 a share. It's just, they throw out these crazy things, and that's what short sellers do. And that's what this is my first rodeo with a heavily shorted stock, which Ttcf is heavily shorted. Like to give you some context of how heavily this shorted the stock is, there's brokerages giving you like a 20% ROI if they're allowed to lend out your shares, essentially. That's how insane it has gotten with how heavily shorted this stock is, right? And so I'm telling you, if this stock actually got momentum behind it, the move could be very crazy. So this, for the short sellers, you got to understand, this is the game for them. This is their Super Bowl. They're going to pull out anything. They're going to pull out anything to try to get no momentum in the stock. That means trying to do anything manipulative they possibly can with trading activity. That means trying to do anything possible they can with, message boards and anywhere where retail's at, trying to get people to sell out. And, oh, did you see that bad metric over there? Oh, they missed that number. It doesn't. Any way they slice it, they'll try to bring up something bad, right? And so you got to understand they're going to try to do that and try to get people out of the stock. And for longs, it's nothing to us. If it goes down, great. Buy more shares for cheaper, get a bigger ownership position. If it goes up, great. Buy more shares. For us, it literally doesn't matter. Stay the same. Stock price stays the same. We buy. And so for us, it's nothing, right? But I'm telling you, for these quarterly reports, it's fun for us longs to kind of see the numbers, make sure the revenue growth is still on track, and the company product expansions and the store expansion, all that stuff, right? That's why it's important for us to listen to conference calls and pay attention to these numbers. But from the short side, it's much more important for them in terms of the stock price tomorrow and the stock price the next day, and trying to make sure that stock price goes down by any means necessary. And if they can't get it down, they could end up in a real situation. That's all I'll say about that. They could end up in a real situation when you got a stock this heavily shorted. It doesn't take a lot to all of a sudden get a little squeezy. And they got to understand that when you're talking about these sorts of stocks that are heavily shorted, okay, there are some hedge funds out there that keep an eye out, okay? And if they see let's say a big beat there, let's just call it a decent sized beat on revenue, and they see some momentum, it's nothing for a big fund to come in and just say, okay, we got something here. Let's put 5 mil, 10 mil in the stock. And next thing you know, you get some. If they want to do that, you don't. The squeeze would be insane, because 5 mil, 10 mil in Apple stock is nothing, right? You're not even going to see that. But I can tell you, if somebody also put $5 million or $10 million in Tattooed Chef, all in a matter of an hour or two, boy, the move would be pretty epic, and especially when you're in a volatile time as it is. And then all of a sudden you get some more trading action involved, where all of a sudden some other folks start to see, and it can get real nasty real fast on the short side. And like I said, for the longs, like, it doesn't matter to us. It doesn't matter. The stock goes down, we buy more. Stock stays the same, we buy more. The stock goes up, we buy more. It doesn't matter. And so, it's just, we'll see what happens there. That's a whole game. But I can't wait to really see the revenue numbers. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. I'm also looking forward to the conference call, although they just did a conference, a couple days ago. So, when I look at it from that perspective, we shouldn't get anything shocking news from the conference call, but I always like listening to those anyways. It's just always get some good information there. So anyways, guys, much love as always. Hope you enjoyed this. Hello, Tattooed Chef Squad. I know you guys are the silent majority here, and that's always good. That's always good. And by the way, hey, if you want some free money, check out Moomoo. My link in the pinned comment down there. Basically, what they're doing right now, deposit any amount of money, get 3 free stocks. Like, free money, it's ridiculous. 1 stock free from $300 to $3,500, 1 free from $900 to $3,500, and you get a free Neo share. And I think they're even doing a deal right now where you get a free TTCF share if you, I think it's deposit $100. But these 3 free stocks are deposit with any amount of money. So you can do like $1 and get these stocks free. So check out pinned comment down there. It's exclusive and it's only for right now. It's pretty awesome. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Much love and have a great day.